Joining us now is Dr. Tony Agbans, Senior Lecturer at Anglia Ruskin University in London, England. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Olumide.
Good morning. I think this is what is akin to what they call a catch-22 situation. Attack Hamas in the humanitarian criticized corridor of Gaza and be labeled someone who doesn't care about civilians and continue to amass the killing of civilians because of your attack on Hamas, or refrain and be termed to not be hard enough against the Hamas terrorists who killed over 1,400 of your people, including women, including children, including the elderly. What are your initial reactions?
Yeah, thank you very much. You have put it very succinctly. It's a very perfect scenario, for a catch-22, like you said. I think for everyone that has been watching what has been playing out between Hamas and Israel in the last 23 days, is a case of, between the devil and the deep blue sea. Every day, we just see an escalation. Like you said, on October 7, when Hamas militias, when they attacked Israel, over 1,400 people were killed. A lot of them Israelis and some other people from other nationalities who were, observing a festival somewhere, in southern Israel. So that actually, is the cause of this problem we are having. And as we speak, data available shows that over 8,000 Palestinians have been killed in retaliative offensive that the Israeli Defense Forces, have been on. Airstrikes, drone attacks, and even yesterday, listening to the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu, he is saying that they are now going for the final push, which is the ground offensive. And the UN aid agencies are all saying that the humanitarian crisis in Gaza along the strip now is getting out of hand. And there was even an attack on a food warehouse in Gaza, over the weekend. So it is just so sad that as we speak, over 9,400 people have been killed, many injured, a lot are still being held hostage. So in situating this crisis that is going on, again, we look at the laws of cause and effect, both from the Israeli side and also from the Gaza side, the Hamas. So that is the problem we are having at the moment.
I notice you call them Hamas militia and not Hamas terrorists. Are they militants? Are they a militia? Or are they terrorists that attacked Israel?
I think the Israelis call them terrorists. In the West here, they call them terrorists. But it's a question of semantics. So either way, they are a resistance force.
Right. Let's move on to the issue concerning the hostages. Over the weekend, Hamas says that at the weekend that 50 hostages have been killed as a result of the airstrikes and the bombardment by Israeli IDF forces. Now, we don't know the identity of those hostages that have been killed. They call them captives. According to them, they say 50 captives have been killed. We can only safely assume they're talking about the hostages. So if 50 hostages have been killed, could you react to this, given in mind that at the beginning of this conflict, Hamas had threatened that for every Israeli airstrike, they will kill a hostage?
Yeah, I think when that report came in about the killing of 50 hostages, there have been a lot of dissent. A lot of people feel that probably Hamas, they are just trying to use propaganda. They are the ones doing the killing. But some other school of thought also feel that it is also possible that during the strikes by the Israeli defense forces, this is when these hostages were killed. But my instinct tells me that it's propaganda. That is I'm just speaking instinctively. I don't believe Hamas will be so daft to just put these hostages in harm's way. They probably keep them in some bunker below the surface of the earth somewhere. Because
you think they're lying that the hostages are not dead, that the hostages are the 50 hostages are alive? You think that's a lie? You think they're alive?
I think they may be alive or they may be killed. It's a very dicey scenario. We cannot really put a handle on it.
The World Health Organization, Dr. Agwin, the World Health Organization said that that's the World Health Organization have appealed to Hamas that it should give proof of life of the hostages. Is that a fair demand? So that we know how many people are alive, how many people are not alive. Israel says 239 now, and that number keeps changing, that were kidnapped. 4 have been released. Hamas has said that 50 have perished. Proof of life from the World Health Organization.
Exactly. There has to be proof of life. And you see what Hamas also did very tactically. They released about 4 hostages. And in hostage situation, you release some to go and tell the story. And you saw how those hostages, they spoke to the world press. So it whips up sentiment. You saw the meeting Netanyahu had with the families of hostages yesterday. So all these are, in hostage situation, you have to bargain. I think Hamas is bargaining. And let me just put this one very clearly. The Hamas group have said they will only release over 200 hostages if Israel releases, over 6,000 of, I think some reports say 6,000, some say 8,000 of Hamas group members who are in different prisons in Israel. They are in Israeli jails. But Israel is having a second thought because in 2011, Israel released one of their soldiers, Gilad Shalit, for just one soldier, for 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. And Israel have said that was, a tactical error, that they are not going to do that again, in the spirit of proportionality. And Israelis are really, really hesitant this time around. They don't want to release over 6,000, 7,000 hostages because of 230. But there's pressure on the Israeli government to accede to the request of Hamas over this hostage situation. So that is the situation at the moment.
Before we leave the hostage situation, where I want us to delve into the crisis in Gaza and the thousands of people that have been killed there, Hamas had a delegation over at Russia, we understand now, and Hamas said that in response to a Russian request, they were going to release 4 Israeli-Russian nationals. A number of Israeli-Russian nationals, I think about 7 or 8 of them, under 10, at least I know that number. They were going to release them. They said, and I'm quoting the Hamas in the operative, he said that they will look for the hostages, that it will be difficult, but they will see to releasing the Israeli-Russian national hostages, that they would look for them. If you heard that report, what do you make of it? They would look for them. Don't they know where they are? Isn't there a tally of when all the hostages were taken, where they are, what nationalities they are? That would have been in keeping with any organization's organization on how to keep such hostages that you've taken. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, again, these are some of the, secrecy, some information that are not available in the public domain. But Olumide, when you look at the Israeli Defense Forces, you look at the architecture of the Israeli military. They work so much on intelligence, although they didn't see the attack that happened on October 7, that aside. So I believe they may not make this publicly. The Israelis, they know they know the identity of the people that are taken. You know the security situation between Israel and Palestine. Report have it that the Israeli nation is one of the most security conscious nation on earth, because anything can happen. In the blink of an eye, there could be crisis, in Israel or in Palestine. So they know, they actually know this, but this back and forth, the Hamas group, this is my thinking, they are using these hostages to kind of, slow down the ground incursion that Israel wants to do. Because at the end of the day, if Israel, many people actually thought that the ground offensive would have taken place. This is day 23, would have taken place already. So why the delay? So I believe that if this hostage situation was not there, that ground offensive would have been done already. So all this back and forth we are seeing in the media, both from the Israeli and the Hamas side, is a kind of juggle, puzzle-solving military tactics, especially from the Hamas, to slow down this ground offensive. But looking at the tense language of the defense chief of Israel, over the weekend, I think the Israelis are going all out. But there is pressure at home. Families are calling on the Israeli authorities to be very cautious and not just go for this all-out ground attack. Because at the end of the day, I think lives will still be lost.
Where does that leave Russia? Where does that leave Russia, where Russia at the United Nations and the Security Council is putting itself in a position where it seems to be supporting Hamas? And Hamas, on the other hand, and I repeat, they said that they are going to look for the Israeli-Russian hostages, meaning that they don't know where they are or that it's difficult for them to find them. It seems pretty mysterious.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. The Hamas, the hostages are with them. They've released about 4. They are promising to release about 7 or 8, as soon as possible. So they know where the hostages are. This is all bargain. And like I said, it's an attempt to slow down the ground offensive, which Israel probably want to do this week. So it is all military tactics. And we watch and see how this will pan out. For Russia, I think the Russians have been doing a lot of, shuttle diplomacy, trying to see how they can resolve the crisis. But a major disadvantage for the Russians is that at this point in time, they are not really in good terms with the West. So there's no synergy from that angle because of the crisis which Russia themselves have with Ukraine. So there's no really direct discussions and conversations between Russia and leaders of Western nations. And let's not forget, the UN Security Council 15-member, they been trying to come up with resolutions on this crisis, but I think the US vetoed, and they are not really having a headway. Today, as we speak, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, who are the only Arab nation in the UN Security Council, they are bringing up a resolution for a humanitarian pause so that people can get succor and get aid during this crisis. I think food they say, is running out in Gaza and the Gaza Strip.
Okay, Dr. Agbons, finally, the Palestinians have lost 8,005 people. That's 8,005, including 3,324 children as a result of this conflict. Mr. Guterres of the United Nations, the Secretary General, had mentioned that he is also calling for a humanitarian pause. He is also calling for a release of the hostages, that it is appalling that the situation in Gaza continues to be dire. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, the UN Secretary General, he's been really calling, although for a humanitarian truce, but his speech at the United Nations during a meeting upset Israel and some Western nations. So there have been a lot of disenchantment, with him in particular, as most of them feel that he's taking sides. But on the whole, I think
was that a fair judgment on Mr. Guterres? Do you think he could be handling it more delicately, more diplomatically, so that both sides could? Okay.
Yeah, it could have been more sensitive because I listened to that speech. As a senior diplomat, somebody that leads the administration of the United Nations should have been a bit more sensitive in his address. Although what he said, they were germane, they were the truth, but already there's a crisis on hand. It could have been more tactical in his presentation. So hopefully, a ceasefire will be called and peace will be on the horizon.
Amen. We thank you, Dr. Tony Agwin, Senior Lecturer, Anglia Ruskin University, London, for being with us this morning.
Thank you.